of the 24-hour economy by lifting the night travel ban on commercial trucks and buses effective 1st April 2026. Minister responsible for Commerce, Trade and Industry, Chipoka Mlenga, says the move is aimed at enhancing the movement of goods and services and stimulating economic activity around the clock. Mr. Mlenga says the Kazungula one-stop border post will also begin operating on a 24-hour basis to support small and medium enterprises, allowing them to order goods at night and sell during the day. Speaking when he featured on Diamond TV's Costa program, Mr. Mlenga did explain that the operationalization of the 24-hour economy will be demand-driven, with the retail and service sectors identified as priority areas in the initial phase. When the conversation around the 24-hour economy began, Webby reminded me of the discussion I had with yourself and Webby at a place in Lusaka when I was proposing to you what I was going to do. So he caught me that, sir, government is implementing your programs. But remember
wait, there's a time we had this discussion, right?
We had this discussion some time back when I was proposing to you that once I become president, what we're going to do is that we're going to turn this economy into 24-hour economy, and that this is going to be a game changer. You know, a few weeks later, government announces that this is what it intends to do.
Do you have some insights from cabinet? Do you have some intel from there?
Not at all.
Did this leak from a cabinet meeting?
In fact, I remember you questioning me on how I intend to implement this policy and how it was going to work. And I was so happy when I saw the memo from Minister responsible for Information and Media, Mr. Cornelius Mont, announcing that part of the resolutions that were made in cabinet were that we're going to government was going to operationalize the 24-hour economy, and this was going to be in a phased manner. And for me, I'm thinking these ideas that the young people are thinking about, and I think this is progressive. And I think where we need to commend government, we must commend government. But also I think the many issues have been around how this was going to be implemented. In fact, the same issues that have been raised were the same issues that you questioned me about, and I'm glad
exactly
that government is responding to the people. One
of the major issues was security, and many had questioned how exactly this would happen. Would it be sustained? Will it be manageable with the current state of security in this country? And by the state of security, people are making reference to the institution mandated to maintain law and order in this country, which is the Zambia police. What have been people's experiences when they talk about how the police get to respond to different issues? Are they able to respond promptly when you need them? What do they say when you need the police to come through? There's been the whole common statement of tribe fuel or whatever people say they experience. So that has been a major concern there. But the government has been quite categorical about this, that they will do this in phases. It will not happen all at once, perhaps because it might be a bit difficult to sustain a project like this happening at once. But with the minister talking about the night ban being lifted, it's raised a lot of questions. Because we saw the Road Transport and Safety Agency, they also released a statement not too long ago, just making people remember that the night ban is still in place, despite the statement that was made around the 24-hour economy and the approval by cabinet. But we've seen people who are also against this idea of the night ban being lifted, especially for trucks, the commercial trucks and the buses. If we look at where we're coming from, what led to this?
The accidents.
We saw a number of road traffic accidents. People that were dying, and you find that these accidents involved a lot of buses, a lot of these trucks. There also may be other private vehicles as well that were involved. But you find that there'll be a truck somewhere, or there'll be a bus somewhere, and lives will be lost because these buses carry quite a number of people. So that was realized as a challenge, and because of how frequently it was happening, government decided to put that particular ban. So that's why some people are not very supportive of this night ban being lifted. We've seen people who've welcomed the 24-hour economy, but are very skeptical about the ban being lifted because of those accidents. There are others who argue, saying, look, an accident can happen anytime.
Yeah, that's why it's an accident.
It's an accident. Maybe other measures need to be put in place. Others are suggesting maybe there should be, if it's a bus, maybe there should be 2 drivers if they'll be moving at night, so that maybe they can exchange. You don't have one person who's possibly tired driving all by themselves. So there have been different proposals. There are others who support that this night ban should be lifted, and there are others who disagree.
Well, what's interesting is the day that this night ban is going to be lifted. It's going to be lifted on the 1st of April. I was asking the minister that I hope you will not come and say, no,
it's an April Fool's joke. As an April Fool's joke.
As an April Fool's joke. But speaking about accidents, earlier on today we did see one person getting to die, while 4 others remained in critical condition and admitted to the intensive care unit at the Levi Mwanawasa Hospital following a road accident at Manda Hill area in Lusaka. 10 other people have been reported to have sustained various injuries in the accident. Levi Mwanawasa University Teaching Hospital Head of Public Relations, Nancy Malitoli, has confirmed the development to Diamond TV, stating that the victims were rushed to the hospital for medical attention. Preliminary information indicates that the 15 victims were traveling in a bus from Mulungushi International Conference Center when the vehicle veered off the road, overturned, plunged into a large drainage channel. The bus was heading west after an event held at the Mulungushi International Conference Center in Lusaka. Quite a sad day, and may the soul of the departed rest in eternal peace. And this is the picture that has been trending on social media the past couple of hours. Of a life being lost and 4 others being in ICU, and I think it reminds us of how just to be very careful on the road, especially if, you could actually be careful. You could decide to be careful and not, decide to overtake or, because I think there was no, I think there was no event that could have, made, the driver of the bus speed in a manner that eyewitnesses, have been saying. And so, but let's for those that missed this package, let's see what happened exactly.
A tragic road accident near Lusaka's busy Manda Hill area has left 1 person dead, 4 others fighting for their lives in the intensive care unit, and several more nursing injuries. The accident happened when a bus carrying 15 passengers veered off the road and overturned before plunging into a large drainage channel. The driver of the vehicle involved in the accident narrates the ordeal to Diamond News. What happened was that we were traveling from Mulungushi International Conference Center with passengers in the vehicle, and I just felt brakes when I was trying to apply brakes, but they were not working. So I lost control of the vehicle and I didn't know what to do. So my immediate reaction was I tried to stop it, it couldn't stop, and just veered off into this drainage right here. The violent impact left the vehicle badly damaged, forcing emergency responders to rush the victims to Levi Mwanawasa University Teaching Hospital for urgent medical attention. I was one of the people that was on site. I saw it all happen. We actually broke through these windows and just ripped off the vehicle for us to have people removed out of the vehicle. And Levi Mwanawasa Hospital Head of Public Relations, Nancy Malitoli, has confirmed to Diamond News that 1 person was BID, while 4 others are in critical condition.
They received 15 accident victims. The accident is said to have happened at the Showgrounds bus stop. Of the 15, 2 were females, 1 was brought in dead, and 4 are critically injured. They have head injuries. and the other 10 are also injured. The critically injured have been rushed to ICU as they undergo further examinations.
Police are yet to establish the exact cause of the accident, but investigations are underway as officials work to piece together what led to the crash in one of Lusaka's busiest corridors.
Well, that is what happened early on today.
Well, I mean, what has stood out from this that people have been commenting on, these are people who came through from the Mungushi International Conference Center. There was an event happening there focusing on public delivery, attended by the president, graced or officiated by the Republican president, His Excellency Mr. Hakainde Hichilema. And what has also been noticed is that the people on the bus there were members or supporters of the ruling United Party for National Development, still Zambian citizens. But one thing that people have been talking about from all of this is what they tend to see when they see party cadres or supporters who are moving in these vehicles, how they conduct themselves, them breaking some of these rules and regulations that involve people being on the road. Are you wearing a seatbelt? Are you seated? Are you standing on? Are you sitting on the side on the windows of the vehicle? All these things. I mean, the narration we got there of what had happened talks about the brakes not working and eventually the bus veering off the road. But from a general perspective, people have raised concern that when there are events that are attended by party members or supporters, people tend to be overly excited. They do not follow the rules of what one is supposed to do when they're in a motor vehicle and they're on the road, and it creates a risky situation. Sometimes the drivers themselves will also be speeding as they are carrying these people. So there's been that observation, and people have been concerned that, going forward, people should avoid that, because the possibility of an accident happening the probability is usually quite high.
It's very high. What you've spoken is just the naked truth, and it's a blunt truth. That's what happens. It's not only supporters of the UPND, but also supporters of the opposition. There's a tendency of excitement, especially when you're moving as political players in a convoy. Not so long ago, I did see a convoy of supporters of Honorable Brian Mundwile around Arcades roundabout. Oh my goodness, the way they were driving, and some people were, also, like you rightly put it, on the window of the vehicles, and that wasn't safe. And I think the Road Transport and Safety Agency must really come out in the open and state facts for what they are. There's a tendency of these guys disregarding traffic rules when they're moving, on the road. And so we hope really that this in some way could serve as a lesson to, not to say that probably what caused it was because, according to the narration of the driver, is that the brakes had stopped working. But I think also this could serve as a lesson to political party players, or if you like, cadres that like to have the excitement and on the road.
And this is a perfect time because we're going into the election campaign period. Very soon, people will be campaigning. This will be the order of the day every single day. We'll be seeing people campaigning, moving in different vehicles, and even politicians alike. One example that we commonly see is if you saw recently, the time when Yomaps came through, he won an award, and he was being welcomed by different people. He was sitting on top of the vehicle and waving at people from the sunroof. That is something that we also got to see American YouTuber iShow Speed get to do. But when Yomaps did that, the Road Transport and Safety Agency had put a comment about this on their Facebook page, just telling Yomaps that is an offense. You're not supposed to be on a vehicle like that. But then it raised a whole conversation around how so many people have been able to do that. People doing that when they have weddings. Politicians themselves getting to do that. We've seen so many presidents who've done that. We've seen even the current president, not even too long ago, We saw him in Kanyama. He was doing the same thing. He's waving, while he's sitting to the sunroof. But the Road Transport and Safety Agency have said it's an offense. But we are still seeing politicians themselves who are doing that, and even more so, the Republican president himself are still doing that. No. So, I guess the Road Transport and Safety Agency will probably
have a difficult
need
time to handle the situation.
Yeah, was then how did the rest of the citizens get to follow some of these rules if they're seeing people around them get away with some of these things?
The Constitutional Court has dismissed, for lack of merit, a petition seeking to halt the Electoral Commission of Zambia's ongoing constituency development exercise. And this is a discussion we're getting in on our Facebook page. We are streaming this program live on our Facebook page. That's at Diamond TV Online. The Constitutional Court has dismissed, for lack of merit, a petition seeking to halt the Electoral Commission of Zambia's ongoing constituency delimitation exercise. People's Action for the country's transformation chairperson, Mr. Peter Sinkamba, challenged the delimitation exercise, stating that it was being held haphazardly and in breach of the Constitution. Constitutional Court Judge Kenneth Mulife, representing a panel of 7 judges, told the court that the petition was denied as it was prematurely before it. Mr. Sinkamba joins us on tonight's edition of Diamond Live. President Sinkamba, President of the Green Party, thank you so much for making the time to be with us on tonight's edition of Diamond Live.
Thank you very much for having me on your program. I haven't been here in a long time, but it's good to be here again. Thanks.
The outcome of the court case, did you expect this?
We expected it, but it needed to be on record. You know, we have a situation where our Concourt is making certain decisions that always are on the side of government, regardless the circumstances. They would always want to make decisions that appease government. And it's not good for our constitutional order, because the people must run to a court when they think that the executive is not doing things in the right manner. But if the court are going to always side with the executive, then it means you have no protection as a people.
Probably your case wasn't just as strong.
Okay, let's take the case of what the reasoning was, that it was premature. Now, the Constitution itself, in Article 2, provides that a person may petition the Constitutional Court on account that you want to prevent some person from breaching the Constitution, or you want to resist someone who you think may breach the Constitution. And therefore, if the Constitution provides that you can prevent breach of the Constitution, it means you can stop someone but you cannot call that as premature. You don't have to wait until a problem has happened. That's when you go to say there's a breach. The Constitution allows for the breach, but it also provides for preventive measures. Because certain decisions which can be made can be fatal. If you want to wait for them until there's a breach, you may find yourselves in a big problem. Let's talk about the case of the delimitation. Okay? The delimitation, one of the issues that we raised was on the register. Okay? That this register should not be certified on the 30th of April. Why did we say so? Because when
this is the voter register.
The voter register. Okay? Why did we say it shouldn't be certified then? We said we needed the court to assist us interpret the Constitution as to whether, if it was going to be certified, we were not going to create a situation where people were not going to be allowed to vote. Because the reasoning there is very simple. We have 2 registers. Okay? There's what is called a certified register, which is certified just before the election. And that's the one you run with until the next election. Then once you've had the elections, then you start registering everyone in a provisional. Like, for example, now, there's a 2021 register, which is final register, and then there is the provisional, which they started registering in 2021. But those people that go into the provisional, they are not allowed to vote in case there's any by-election until that voter register is certified. Now here we had the situation where we had a voter register which was certified and had 7 million people. Then there is this provisional which had 3 million people. So, according to the Electoral Act, when the provisional register is certified, it means the other register becomes invalid. You understand? Now, the Electoral Act does not provide for automatic transfer of voters from the certified one into the provisional. There is no law like that in the Electoral Act. You understand? So our intervention was that to state that if there is no law like that, then let's allow ECZ to again run a fresh registration so that people are informed that whether or not you have a card, can you go and re-register so that your name is in the provisional register, so that when they're certified, then at least everyone is going to vote. So what did they do? Today, ECZ decided to publish the new the status. I think the status of the electoral process in terms of numbers. Where I think I've left it. Where they've now told us that they've transferred those voters from the certified register, which was locked by law, to bring them into the provisional, and they say now the total number of registered voters is 8 million something, which is not correct. You understand? There is no law which allows them to do that. But here is a court which is going to come and make a decision. They even leave out these arguments that we made on the danger of certifying before we resolve this issue of how we're going to transfer this almost 5 million people. You understand? So we have a big problem. If the courts are going to do that, because strictly speaking, if we have to follow what the Electoral Act states, what has been done by ECZ to transfer the voters from the certified register to the provisional register is illegal. It's not there. They have no power like that.
Now, speaking of being power, you speak of the Constitutional Court and use the word always. They always make decisions, or the outcome is meant to appease the government. What do you think can be done to create more confidence in the Constitutional Court? I mean, for those who might share the same view as yourself, people always talk about the independence or the ideal independence of these organs of government, especially if you look at the legislature, looking at the judiciary as well. What do you think can be done?
I think the earlier suggestion which was made by various legal minds, that probably we needed to have the Supreme Court to convert into the Constitutional Court when there are constitutional matters, and then they revert when there are no issues like that. That would assist. Because you see, when you look at the decisions of the Supreme Court, ever since 1964, we've never had a situation where the Supreme Court makes decisions which are controversial, everyone is arguing about them, people are not satisfied about them. When they make decisions, they're thorough, and everyone accepts, and for me, I'd think that probably we need to go to that situation, because the way it is now, our Constitution is not protecting the people. For example, one of the arguments was that this delimitation is being done in reverse order, where you register as voters, then you go and do a verification of your voters, then there is a delimitation. It doesn't work out like that. Okay, if you look at 1964, when you had the delimitation, it was delimitation, then registration of voters, then you have verification of voters' registers, voters' cards, then you go into certification and then election. In 1968, it was the same order. In I think, when did we have again? 1990, we had again a delimitation. Okay? It is in such a manner that you start with the delimitation. Now in the judgment, the court says, well, the law does not provide for the order.
Yeah.
You understand it?
Which is true.
No.
Does it?
No.
Because you're basing your argument on precedence.
No, but how do courts make decisions? They don't just use the law. They use the evidence. You understand? They use facts. They use the experience. They use the common sense in arriving at decision. They don't just use the law. So, in common sense, you'd say, no, you cannot have first of all, you have an election, then you go to delimitation, then you go to voter registration. Does it make sense? Doesn't make sense. So, but there's no law which says that you're going to have first...
But remember that if we're going to use common sense, remember that at the last year, we were discussing Bill 7.
Yes.
And obviously, when the discussions around Bill 7 began, the Electoral Commission of Zambia had already rolled out their calendar. And in the first place, delimitation wasn't there. It was only provided for after we had changed we had amended our constitution. But at the time that we were amending our constitution, the voter registration had already begun. And so it was a matter of common sense that, yes, delimitation must come first before the registration, but because the amendment of the constitution, came in a little bit later, and so we still needed to delimitate because obviously we had amended our constitution.
That's the reverse order I'm talking about. The program for the election came out, I think, in June.
Yes.
And in June, item number 2 was delimitation. But it was blank on the date. Okay? What normally happens in a normal situation, what should have happened is there should have been delimitation first, because delimitation must be informed by the number, the population. You understand? The population, so you calculate how many people must be in a particular constituency. Because at the moment, we have constituencies that have about 30,000 people per constituency. Others have 300,000, almost 400,000 people in one constituency. And these people, all of them, you have, whether you are 30,000, you'll be given 40 million kwacha. Whether you have 400,000, you'll be given 40 million kwacha. That's not where it's supposed to be. You need to work out such that the population, you divide it by the number of constituencies, then should give you the average number of people that must be in any particular constituency. And then that becomes the basis on which you're going to
draw the boundaries.
Yeah.
And that's very good thinking. Help our viewers understand, what is the implication of this reversal that you took to court?
Well, the implication is this. Number one, we have a situation today where we are going to go with a voters register which is not supported by law, but which has been normalized by the Concourt without any backing from the electoral process. You understand? And that the legitimacy of the whole election becomes doubtful to everyone. Say, are we sure that this election is legitimate? You understand? Because what you need to avoid at all costs is to make sure that legitimacy of the election is not questioned. So, and that's what we're trying to avoid in this particular situation.
With the outcome of the court case today, do you foresee us having a credible and fair election?
Well, this is the beginning to show that our election will not be credible. And if people are going to have complaints, because an electoral process, there are a lot of complaints, and if the decisions will be like this, then it means that we are in trouble as a nation. You understand?
So is that how you feel about it from the Constitutional Court per se, or is it through the justice system in general?
No, it's not the justice system in general. Like I said, if you look at the decisions of the Supreme Court, they're usually well thought out. And they'll deal with the nitty-gritty, the issue that you raise during the hearing will be all discussed. but not where you find that, oh, for example, we went into arguments at trial. You understand? Then you don't bring out what was talked about at trial. Just say, well, will not repeat what was said. You can't do that because there are a lot of key issues that came out during trial, but because you don't want to talk about them in your judgment, then you brush aside those issues. You make the whole thing look like it's a joke.
Others have suggested that you're finding a justification. You already know as opposition that you've lost these elections and President Hakainde Hichilema has won. You're trying to find justification to why you would claim that the elections were not free and fair. This is some of the issues that are coming out.
No, at this point in time, we're not saying the election will not be free and fair. But what we're saying that the court, the way it is coming out, and especially that it's going to deal with the electoral matters, we're getting worried that the people may not get the justice that they deserve. You know, because if it's going to run away from the key issues and want to just go around in circles on more serious issues, becomes a problem. For example, one of the issues that we raised was that the Section 5, or is it Amendment 5 of the Constitutional Amendment Act, repealed and replaced Article 68. In Article 68, that's where it was saying there shall be 156 seats. Then that is repealed and says there shall be 226 seats. So what does repeal and replacement mean? Repeal and replace means that new constituencies have been created, and these new constituencies in total are 226. And therefore the delimitation was supposed to look at the 226. But what did the court do? They decided to avoid discussions around what repeal and replacement means. You understand? They decided to just run away from that completely. Yet that was a key argument in our submission. Say, look, the amendment has not created 70 seats. Why? Because there is repeal and replacement. And repeal and replacement, in several decisions of the Supreme Court, they indicate that when they repeal and replace, it is as if there was nothing which was there and a new thing has been brought into play. So all the 226 seats, if really the issue of repeal and replacement was addressed, it wouldn't have been 70 seats that are due for delimitation. It would have meant all the 226 seats. And that would have created a scenario where those constituencies with the huge numbers like 400,000 against those ones that have 30,000, we're going to normalize in all constituencies and then create a new system where all the constituencies around the country have almost the same number of people in that constituency.
On the 15th of April, the Electoral Commission of Zambia will make an announcement of the new constituencies that have been created, the 70 new constituencies that have been created. Generally, what's your take on this exercise that has been happening or that has already happened?
No, it's been very controversial. If you followed wherever ECZ has been, there's been controversies. You heard what Chief Member said, you heard what the chiefs said in Wapula, what the chief said in various places in Southern Province. It's been a very controversial delimitation. We've never had a delimitation this bad in terms of acceptance by the people. Why? Because the manner in which it's been carried out is contrary to what has happened. Because the Zambians witnessed these delimitations in 64, in 68, in 1990, in 2016. There was never controversy like this. Okay? So, and then how do you proceed now to create those seats? When they make an announcement, you will see what will happen. Believe you me, when they make an announcement that these are the new constituencies that have been created, you will see what I'm talking about.
Will you drag the commission to court again?
No, we can't, because a decision has been made. But people will definitely express their disgust, okay? And you see what will happen when they just announce the new constituencies. Why? Because the process itself was done in reverse order. It has not been a kind of process which people have accepted, you know. And of course, even the court has seen those clips, okay, from their own, because they are also like ordinary citizens. They also watch news, they read on social media, they also read newspapers. They've seen the kind of scenario which exists around the country on the delimitation.
There may be divergent views regarding the delimitation process, but don't you think generally people are in support of the idea of constituencies being going through the delimitation process?
People have been supportive. From the word go in 2019, people wanted delimitation, except that Bioten was shut down. You understand? Because you cannot effect delimitation if the constitution is not amended.
Yeah.
You understand? But here it's been done in reverse. The constitution is amended, then you do delimitation. The constitution amendment must be informed by delimitation. The number of seats you're going to create is not supposed to be guesswork. It's not supposed to be a politician waking up and say it is 70 seats or it is 100 seats. No. You go out, find out the facts on the ground. We think that we need 300 seats in the country. Then you go to the constitution process to amend the constitution to create for that 300. It must be informed.
But from your observation, is that the concern people are having, or is it really about how exactly these constituencies will be divided?
The problem, because based on the performance of MPs, okay, in areas where there are so many people, 300,000, MPs are underperforming. Why? Because there's a backlog of people for the same amount. You understand? In one constituency, they're given 40 million kwacha, they're only 30,000. In another constituency, they are 400,000 for 40 million kwacha. So you find delivery. The person who is in with 40,000 delivers. The other one fails to deliver because of the numbers. So people have been saying, can we do delimitation so that we equalize the numbers? Okay? So that even if there's a marginal difference, it must be within the limits. You understand? If you have maybe the highest number, it must be maybe 100,000, and the lowest number must maybe 50,000. Okay? On average, because certain areas are rural areas, you cannot have those numbers, but then at least 50,000 in rural areas, 100,000. But you cannot have 30,000 in one certain areas, or 40,000, then 300 or 400,000. That is awkward. So, and that's why people have been calling for delimitation, genuine delimitation, not delimitation where you dream on how many numbers you must have, but which is informed by the actual population sizes. And then you say, okay, a constituency by constitution can only be maximum this and minimum this. You understand?
In under 40 days, the country will go into full campaign mode. Parliament will have dissolved on the 15th of May, and obviously what follows is the official campaign period for you politicians. How prepared are you as the opposition for these elections?
Okay, for the opposition, I think there's been a little bit of disorder because of the way probably government has been manipulating things in political parties. You know what has happened to PF, for example, which has been the largest opposition. And also, certain political parties, certain organizations, you find there's interference in the manner in which you're going to operate. So it's really disturbed us. But the people of Zambia have told us, can you unite? They don't want to see so many political parties contesting. They don't want to see so many alliances contesting. They're saying, can you have one or maximum two? Okay? And that's what we've been working towards, to try and see if we can do that. And for now, even for us, as the People's Pact, we have decided, and as a Green Party have decided, to join the Tonse Alliance, where we came from. You know, we were in the Tonse Alliance. Because of those problems of PF, which were causing us to make progress, we moved out. But now those problems of PF have been removed, and therefore it is now some conducive environment for us to go and operate. So we are going into that. And we want to encourage other political parties as well and other alliances to see if...
So your alliance has joined another alliance?
Yes, I mean, it was even that it was like that. When we had Tonse, it was called Tonse Grand Alliance. Why? Because there was Tonse, then there was the People's Pact. Okay? So we are going back to that same Grand Alliance, okay, which we left because of the problems which were there arising from PF.
So essentially you endorse the candidature of Mr. Brian Mundubile?
Yes, for now we are going to do that. Because that's what the people on the ground are saying. I would love to be a president. And obviously my colleagues want to be president. But we cannot have so many presidents at the same time. For now, the message on the ground, okay, one of the leaders at the moment who has people talking about is Honorable Brian, the President Mundubile. Yes, for now, that is, if you go to markets, you go to villages, you are on radio, people are talking about...
Did you think he's got the capacity to unseat President Hakainde?
It's not the president who unseats. This is the people themselves. And for now, the people have told us that we know who to remove. Show us who to bring on board. And the people themselves who deliver on behalf. All we need to do is, because they'll tell you, we want you. Okay? And you give that person to them, they vote for that person.
Why do you want President Hakainde removed from office?
Well, for us, we don't think that she has delivered. Okay? For us, we don't think that she has delivered. And if you don't deliver, then you need to be removed. You understand?
Are you able to qualify your statement?
Maybe tell me, Mr. Mansa, what is it that UPN and President HH have done very well, which you think is...
I think it's you to answer.
Because for me, you see, the country is, number one, a mining-dependent country. In terms of revenue, it is our biggest revenue earner. Okay? When you look at the performance of UPND in the mining sector, they'll tell you that, no, we have done very well, we've brought in a lot of investors and what have you. You understand?
Yeah, they've revamped the mining sector.
That's what they say. Okay?
Isn't that true?
That's what they say. But you see, numbers don't lie. Okay? If the mining sector is not about how many investors that you're going to bring in, it's what's the production at the end of the day. Okay? If you look at the production, 2018, it was almost 890,000 metric tons. Okay? 2019, there about. 2021, we were almost the same number. Okay? 2022, 23, it came down to 700,000. Okay? And it has started rising. So the difference between 2019 and 2025 is only about 10,000 metric tons. You understand? In 5 years, the UPND has only increased production beyond what PF did by about 10,000. So for me, I don't think that is a big achievement.
The government has spoken on this in terms of the challenges that have been faced over the years. What has also been heard even with the different, whether it's partners or investors who were there previously, and even with what they're calling the revamping of the mines, which were not operating at their optimum, and coupled with the different challenges. For example, last year, the Minister of Mines and Minerals Development, Mr. Paul Kabuswe, did give a statement letting people know that they fell short of their 1 million metric tons target last year. There were different challenges such as energy and so on. But this year, they're anticipating that they will meet their target, in fact, surpass the same target, because they've been able to address some of those challenges faced, plus getting even more mines coming on board. So when you talk about the mining sector, don't you think that, yes, there's more that can be done, but they're moving the right trajectory?
Power. which you have raised as an issue, it's not the first time that we have had power problems. And we know when power problems arise, we have what we call the El Nino effect, which is cyclic. It comes every 5 years. You understand? So we know, for example, it was there in 2014, 2015. It was there in 2019. Okay, it was again there in 2022, 2023. You understand? We know when it comes every 5 years about. Okay, so why, for example, the PF at a time decided to increase on the to have what we call base load, which is stable and sufficient, why they decided to have a nuclear power to be developed in the country through the Russian support, okay, was to have a base load which is not affected by El Nino effects and what have you. You understand? UPND comes into government, they abandon that project. You understand? After we have trained a lot of engineers who could have come and work and run that power station effectively. So we had to get back to square one, where you have to rely on hydropower. Okay, and although we're talking about the solar energy, that is not base load. Okay, it is in the night, for example, production can come down to zero. You understand? So for us, we don't think that there's been any big movement in terms of energy production in the country in the 5 years that UPND has been there. But significant.
But you make reference. You say numbers don't lie.
Yes.
And if we look at now what's happening in the country, the single largest taxpayer in this country, still coming through from the mines, from the mining sector. Others would argue that there's been a lot of improvement when we talk about what's still going to the Zambian economy.
No, in fact, it has come down. If you really look at numbers, the biggest contributor to the revenue in the country from the mining sector was mineral royalty tax. Okay, and that tax was never subjected to your profit and loss issues. You understand? It was based on production. How many tons have you produced? So many. What is the percentage mineral royalty tax? So much. Pay. You understand? Now, it is like, first of all, before you pay, you lump it with the other costs, then it becomes taxable. You know? So if you made a loss, you can even not pay your mineral royalty tax. This is the new setup. And if you look at the numbers today, how much are we paying towards mineral royalty tax? And how much did we pay, or did we get from mineral royalty tax in 2021, 2022, 2021 and going backward? You find that there was more revenue coming, almost $1 billion was coming from mineral royalty tax alone. But now it's coming down to 400,000, 400 million. Sorry.
If we look at the sector, I mean, it's public knowledge where we're coming from with the operations within the mining sector in this country, especially when this government took over in 2021. You were based on the Copper Belt. And if you look at what has happened in the last 4 to 5 years, are you saying you're not seeing any tangible impact within the communities over there?
Not on the mining Copper Belt, no. There's nothing to you go to Luansha, there's nothing to be excited about. I've lived on the Copper Belt for like over 40 years. And I know how Luansha used to thrive, how Mufulira used to thrive, how Quito used to thrive. Actually, the only time that we saw quite a lot of activity is when that Black Mountain in Quito was being mined by the Jarabos. Because for them, whatever they were making from sales of that Black Mountain material to the Chinese, they were investing within the local. So
nothing from the resumption of Mopani and
because today, if you look at Mopani production, this is nothing to write home about.
KCM.
You understand? KCM, up to now, they're still trying to get back onto their feet, you know, following those issues of liquidation, okay, which affected production.
But doesn't that count as a step in the right direction?
Which one?
The fact that even just them getting back on their feet, with reference to where we're coming from,
we could have resolved these issues long time ago. You know, UPND, when they came into government, immediately they decided to come out of court process and embark on KCM to run the way. I was one of those people that condemned that liquidation, okay? And I was hopeful that when UPND comes into government, immediately they would reverse that and then start production again. But what did they had to skate around until it was last year? Or is it last year, I think, when they finally resolved that, 4 years. They would have come out of court immediately and they would have resolved these issues. Because I remember when they just came into government, the owner of Vedanta was offering to bring in, I think, $1.5 billion to like sustain the operations. But because there was the dialing on the part of government, you understand? At the end of the day, when they were resolving issues, I think he had used that money elsewhere. Okay?
Fundamentally, the UPND won on the ticket of fixing the country's economy. And President Hakainde Hichilema said he has fixed it. And since you like numbers, said numbers don't lie. Our average inflation now as of month of March is at 7.1%, a single digit from 21% that the Patriotic Front left it at. Now the exchange rate has gained strength, now at 19.8, at 19.8 to a dollar. The GDP, the economy is growing at above 4%. Before just in 2021, we were regressing, we were growing in the negative, but now we are back, on a positive economic trajectory. And so, if you speak about numbers, aren't you impressed that all the macroeconomic fundamentals are pointing in the right direction?
Talking about GDP, we recorded negative growth in 2020 because of COVID. Understand? 2021, we recorded 7% growth, from negative into a huge leap. There were times, I think in 2016, we even reached about 10% GDP. Understand? In ACL time. So if you look at the trend, it is not going to be correct to say it was all in negative growth. I don't think so. We know when it was negative, and we know that it was because of COVID-19. But even then, we were able to rebound. And we rebound on a more aggressive note. Okay, so that is it. Okay, inflation. Yes, it's true. Inflation was high, very high, and usually it is election time. Believe you me, look at what's going to happen between the 15th May and the election time. You'll see whether inflation, if it's not being manipulated, you'll see how the inflation is going to rise significantly between 15th May and election day, even a little bit beyond that. Okay? Why? Because we'll have a lot of people. People have hidden money, and then they want to be candidates. Then they will start now unleashing their money during that time. So you'd find that the economic fundamentals will not be the same. So you cannot come and say, we found inflation at this level in 2021. Now we brought it to 7%. Then it means we don't understand the trends. The trend, when there's an election, it will definitely go up.
So according to you, even free education, the debt restructuring, increment in CDF to constituencies is not a game changer for you?
Let's look at, first of all, the issue of restructuring, where you can push the repayment to 2043. You understand? For me, I don't think that's a very wise way of doing things. You don't leave your grandchildren with the liabilities. Leave your grandchildren with the assets. So for you to shift your burden today from you paying for that, and you say, let my great-grandchildren pay for it. It's up to them whether they'll pay for that or not. I don't think that is responsibility. I cannot celebrate about that. I'd rather my children.
So what were you going to do if you're president, really, with the mountain of debt that the Patriotic Front left us as a country?
The reason why, for example, the Green Party came up with the manifesto of legalized cannabis for medicinal and industrial purposes, but then the debt was only at $7 billion. We said, if we don't find an alternative to debt repayment using locally generated resources from our own natural endowment, we are going to fail to sustain this debt in the next 10 years. And this is exactly what
probably your plans were not practicable, because even your good friends, the Patriotic Front, couldn't buy into your ideas.
But they bought into the ideas towards the end. And that's why they enacted the Cannabis Act of 2021, which was Act number 34, in 2021, on the day on which Parliament was dissolving. That's how they also enacted the Industrial Hemp Act, number 33 of 2021, on the day Parliament was dissolving. Now, at the time, the assumption was that if we win, we come and implement. Unfortunately, they lost. And what does UPND do? They just pick those acts of Parliament and throw them into the dustbin and forget about it. You understand? Then you come and restructure the debt. You transfer the debt from yourselves to your great-grandchildren. It's up to them what they're going to do. I don't think that is responsible.
Free education and the school feeding program?
You see, I was privileged to go to school in the 70s, early 70s. Understand? I was in grade 1 in 1971. We had free education, where when you go to school, you didn't need to carry a book. If your book is finished, the school give you pencils, pens, textbooks, everything that you needed, rubbers, were given them free of charge. You understand? That's free education. When you went into boarding school, they were able to give you the beddings, the mattresses and things like that by the school. Today, go to a boarding school. They carry their own mattresses. They pay for the. If they tell you it's free, they pay 1,000 kwacha per student per term. You have to buy them their
for the boarding schools.
Yes, and you carry. They have to carry sugar. They have to carry everything. It's 2 trunks of food and what have you. What free education? As when I was in university, okay, when I was at ZIT, what we call Community University today, our breakfast was more like intercontinental breakfast. You understand? You have bacon, you have eggs,
the population by then. The population by then was not as much as it is.
When they tell you free education, and what hurts me most is that the people that are talking about free education went to school like me, and they know what they had to benefit from free education that time.
And that's why we ask.
And those days, maybe before and those days, a class was never above 30 in class. You understand? Because the teachers then had time for each kid.
But also we can agree that the population then and the population now is quite a huge difference. But I asked the question earlier around a trajectory, because if we look at even what the free education policy as it is, we're coming from a time where we had many pupils who were not able to access the education, couldn't be in a classroom. And now there are these classrooms. We're seeing these school feeding programs, which is being implemented, something that was not existed for a very, very long time in this country. Again, I ask, don't you think that's a step in the right direction? Yes, you might have your perspective of how it can be done better, but the fact that this has started, don't you think this is worth commending?
They haven't started. They've just reintroduced.
So
okay, but
even the reintroduction itself, don't you think that is commendable?
Well, for me, I'd say this. Let's be honest with ourselves. You cannot say there's a free feeding program in schools. Those schools, they have no kitchens, they have no cutlery, they have nothing. You buy things, say feeding. That's not sustainable. You're doing it for an election. What used to happen is that when you have these boarding schools where they were feeding free food to children. They had proper kitchens. Some of them had their own poultry farms, piggery farms. Some of them had cattle, and you would slaughter your own animals to feed yourselves. You're not dependent on someone releasing some money to feed you. You understand?
But so that
was sustainable.
Aren't those opportunities to improve an idea that has been reintroduced that was not there for a very long time? Don't you see that as opportunities to improve something that has been reintroduced?
Well, for me, you see, I'd rather to have what you call a sustainable program. You understand? Not that you're going to do because there's an election. I don't think that is correct.
But I guess we can agree that the free education policy was not an election tactic, isn't it?
Morally, it's good to feed those that are underprivileged, those that do not have food,
and let them be in classrooms as well.
Yes, that is very good. But let's make sure that we do things that are sustainable, not do them because you think you want to win an election.
If there's one single thing that you think the UPND have done right, what is it?
What can I point at? Probably sending people to prison because of cyber arrows. If it's good.
So
it's good.
So in terms of maintaining law and order, it's a good thing.
Are you sure?
But you say it's a good thing.
I have difficulties to pick out something, because when they said cyber laws and bullying, I thought it was a good thing. Okay, but when it came to practical application, then we shrank.
You think under the Patriotic Front government, do you think you'd have been criticizing the way you're criticizing the UPND without someone waiting for you outside our studios?
I used to. If you just play some of my programs, 2011 and 2012, 2011 up to 2022, I was very critical. You understand? Except that in my criticism, I don't insult. So there's no reason why a cadre would come and want to attack me. Me, I'm factual. I put things on the table the way and I want to believe in numbers. Because I think numbers don't lie. You understand it? So how do you come and attack me on numbers?
Green Party President Peter Sinkamba, thank you so much for making the time to speak to the Zambians across the country this evening.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mansa, Mr. Mweka. It was a pleasure having me, short notice. And I think I need to move this studio to Copperbell.
That's a good one. That's our discussion for tonight.